It's The Drive on ESPN Blacksburg, and a good afternoon to all of you. I'm Paul Van Wagoner. B-Raw in the other studio is taking your calls at 961-1430. Jason Stamm joining us, the VTZoneScouts.com. Gotta say thank you to Jason. Brought a Christmas card by, Brian. Now, just so you know, there was a little something in there. I am taking you and me to Applebee's. You get to choose one half-price app.
Oh, yeah.
Huh? How about that?
Yes.
How about that?
What a day.
Yeah. And you know the funny thing, Jason, is Brian legitimately is lit up like a Christmas tree right now. He's super excited about that. Jason, how are you, man? Thank you, by the way, for the Christmas card. I appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem, man. I'm glad I can help you guys out. I'm glad, Brian, there's some good appetizers. A lot to choose from there. So
yeah.
Glad I can help you out.
Just out of curiosity, B-Rye, half-price apps at Applebee's, where are you going? Like, what is your go-to?
The mozzie sticks.
All
the way.
All right.
You can't go wrong with mozzarella sticks.
No,
Right.
no,
it's hard to mess those up, too.
Yes.
Like, anywhere you go, that's really hard to mess up.
You've obviously never eaten at my house. I can screw those things up with the best of them. I'll invite you over for dinner sometime.
This just not for mozzarella sticks.
Right, exactly. If that's on the menu, be like, nah, man, I'm good. Hokies had a huge weekend from a recruiting standpoint. There was a group of, was there about 10 or maybe even more recruits at Virginia Tech for visits this weekend?
Yeah, there was at least a dozen. I
Okay.
can't remember. It may have been a couple more than that. I mean, you had a few guys who were already committed.
Right.
Few who are, enrolling early. This was kind of their only chance to take an official visit. That's why a few of them were there. Of course, I think they were also there to kind of work on some of these other big-time guys that were visiting, too.
Right. I know one of those is, of course, a friend of ours, and, I use that term because he's a Michigan boy like myself. Khalil Pimpleton, I know that he obviously committed to play here at Virginia Tech. He just got to sign his national letter of intent, and he's good to go. But if you're talking about from the standpoint of one of your best outside recruiters, guys like that, man, they're priceless, aren't they?
Yeah, they really are. I mean, Khalil is enrolling early, and I'll be honest. I was talking with some other guys, some other BT sources today, and we were kind of talking about how he may be arguably the most loyal of all the commitments they've had. I mean, that kid has never wavered from the very beginning. I know there's been some questioning that he was maybe going to start blowing up, and the biggest thing with him, and it doesn't happen too often. I mean, I'll be honest. I can think of a couple offhand that have done it, but Khalil basically told other coaches, like, don't bother. Like, don't even show up. I'm not going to give you the time of day. I'm going to Virginia Tech. That doesn't happen very often at all. And one of the few guys I can think of that did the exact same thing a few years ago was Vinny Mahota.
Mm-hmm.
Vinny Mahota, it was kind of a big deal, and I remember writing a story about it. He told Nick Saban, no, please don't come.
Wow.
And, Nick Saban doesn't get told no too often. Alabama made him an offer, and it's a pretty big deal when Nick Saban gets told no, don't come to my house. I'm not going to open the door for you.
Yeah, that is huge. What is it about Virginia Tech? Because, I mean, Khalil, he plays at Muskegon High School in Michigan. I mean, it's not like it's not a regional thing. He's not a North Carolina kid or a West Virginia kid or a Maryland kid where it's a close proximity. I mean, he's 700 miles from home is what he's basically going to travel. Is it Coach Fuente? Is it the offense? Is it a Bud Foster thing? Where is the tie? What is it about Virginia Tech that was so appealing to this kid?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing was, he already had a previous connection with Brian Mitchell. When Brian was on staff at West Virginia, he recruited at Michigan quite a bit. And also they came down as a team. I don't believe it was his whole high school team. I think it was just a 7-on-7 team. But, they came down to Virginia Tech over the summer, and it happens. I mean, the same thing happened with Shamari Connor that committed from Trinity Christian. I mean, that was just that visit just sold him. And that happens. And when it does, I mean, it's a very good thing for Virginia Tech. And so, I don't know. I mean, he just from the very beginning, that's where he wanted to go. I think he looked around at other places. Didn't have any other offers that I don't think were nearly as good as Virginia Tech. But
sure.
Again, like I said, this is a kid that probably would have commanded quite a few more offers if he hadn't blatantly told other coaches, don't show up, I'm not going to give you the time of day. So, I guess, when we talk about it, it may not on paper look as good because he doesn't have all those offers, but there's a reason why. He didn't want any more offers. He didn't want anyone else to really have anything to do with him. He was all set with Virginia Tech.
Another kid that has a tie to Michigan, not so much the state, but the University of Michigan is I believe it's Terrius. Is that how you pronounce Wheatley's first name?
Yep, Terrius Wheatley. He's the son of, I guess you probably recognize his dad.
Yep.
Also with the name Wheatley, had a pretty good career at Michigan.
Tyrone Wheatley.
Went on to, yes, he did play in the NFL for a few years. And his older brother is also Tyrone Wheatley. Tyrone Wheatley Jr.
Right.
Is a starting. Well, I don't know if he starts, but he's sophomore tight end for Michigan right now. The Tyrone Jr. was a very big time commitment coming out of Buffalo, right outside of Buffalo, New York.
Right.
A couple years ago, Terrius, because when his dad got the job at Michigan, transferred to Ann Arbor, actually played one season at Pioneer High School.
Mm-hmm.
They had a pretty good season. It was kind of ironic now looking back at it. His high school team actually lost to Josh Jackson, his sailing team, last season in the playoffs. So there's that also kind of connection.
Right.
But, Terrius didn't have a lot of looks. I don't know if really he had much of anything coming out of high school, and I think moving around didn't help. But it wasn't an academic thing is why he ended up at Fork Union. It was purely just to get more football, a little more exposure. And obviously, Fork Union has had a pretty good connection, Mark Schumann, through the years. Mark Schumann, the coach at Fork Union, with Virginia Tech. They've sent countless players throughout the years to Virginia Tech. I actually have another one who's signed in the spring, is coming in January, Silas Zancy. Spent this past, the season at Fork Union. But, Terrius is a kid that he's recruited purely as an athlete. I mean, they're not 100% sure where he's going to play. He's played mostly corner in high school and at Fork Union, but I think he could play either receiver, running back, or DB for Virginia Tech. It depends on how the rest of the class shakes out. And, it's good to have somebody who's versatile like that who, it basically allows you to go after the best recruit.
Right.
Because you're not having to worry about, we have to find a DB or we have to find a running back. You got a guy like Terrius Wheatley, and they've got a few of those you can plug in and play a few different places.
At this point in a lot of these kids' careers, as far as high school is concerned, I know a lot of them play both ways. The running backs and wide receivers play a lot of defensive back and whatnot, and the linemen play both ways on offense and defense. And you got a few guys that'll play a little linebacker. Do coaches like those kids that are very versatile, or would they rather look at a kid and go, okay, he's a right guard, or he's a defensive end, or he's a strong safety, or do they try to get a good mix of players that are position specific, and then those guys like Terrius Wheatley that could play 2 or 3 different positions?
Yeah, I mean, if you're a good enough athlete, if you got the speed, I think it probably helps you. Again, Terrius is a great example to be able to play multiple positions, but in a lot of cases where you're spread out, you're kind of a jack of all trades, master of none. I don't know if that's always a good thing because, you're not especially great in one position because you've had to spread your time with a bunch of different positions. So,
right.
In this case, I think it works. Not every case. I think other cases you kind of, you look at somebody and you think, wow, I really wish he would have spent more time playing wide receiver or playing DB, whatever it may be. So, in this case, it works. It made Terrius Wheatley pretty valuable, I think, being able to play multiple spots. But I don't think that's always the case. So, if you had to choose, I think it'd probably be find your position and, work at it, get better with it. And I think that would probably be the best thing. But, again, if you're that good of an athlete, you're going to find a spot wherever.
Any other players of note that committed this past weekend to Virginia Tech?
The only other one who committed was Jalen Holston on Thursday. He did not officially visit this weekend. He visited for the UVA game the previous weekend, or 2 weekends ago. We've talked about him, I know, on here countless times, Paul. I mean, he has been without question, Virginia Tech's number one running back on the board.
Right.
So,
yep.
It's basically been a matter. He's been telling Virginia Tech and pretty much everyone else, I'm deciding after the season. And, the season they lost in the state semifinals the previous weekend. So it was kind of, let's make a decision here. And even, a couple days before that, I talked to him that Tuesday night, and he talked about, still having 6-7 schools involved and taking more visits. But I know Virginia Tech had an in-home visit, and I think that shows pretty well how well that visit went.
Right, yeah.
I'm sure they laid out for him like, hey, that's great. You can take these visits, but we can't afford to sit and wait on you.
Yeah.
So I think that, if you have any inclination to commit there, you need to do it now. And I think that's probably what did it too. But, I know he's 3 stars. He's not some 4 or 5-star kid, but he's very close to 4 stars. But I think it's huge in the fact that, again, he has been Virginia Tech's number one guy at least 6 months now, probably going back to the spring. Really, when they had the satellite camp in Atlanta, I think that's where he really cemented himself as the top guy. So if you can go, identify your top guy regardless of stars and rankings, you get that top guy, that's definitely something to celebrate.
Is he different from the current batch of running backs that Virginia Tech has? I mean, Trayvon McMillan is a pretty solid running back. Marshawn Williams, if he can get that knee healed up, he showed flashes of what he could be. I mean, obviously the Hokies going to lose Sam Rogers to graduation this year. Can you compare him to anybody that's currently here right now?
I don't think so. I think he's got a really good mix of speed and power, and I think he's got the ability to make a big play anytime he gets the ball. And also, he's not going to be here until the summer. So obviously, something like him, it would be great if he could be here early. But because of the running back situation with Virginia Tech, there's so many unknowns. Trayvon McMillan had such a great year last year, and he's been kind of nowhere to be found at times this year. So you mentioned Sam Rogers leaving. We don't know what's going to happen with Shy McKenzie and especially Marshawn Williams coming off of another injury.
Right.
So this is a kid that Holston's going to have definitely every opportunity to play next season. Again, you like to hope that you get Marshawn Williams back. You hope that you get that Deshaun McLeese back. So if you get them back, I think that, he would probably benefit most from a redshirt year, but he's somebody who, because of so many uncertainties, there is a chance he could play right off the bat next year as a true freshman.
You wrote an article at the VT Zone about Isaiah Ford and whether or not he's going to the NFL. Just give me a yes or a no. Is Isaiah Ford going to the NFL?
If I had to say, I think yes. But, again, there's so many factors involved here. And, we were talking about it today. We asked Bucky Hodges the same thing this afternoon when we talked to him, as a group of reporters. These guys just aren't saying anything. And, it's kind of an inevitable question you kind of have to ask because it's what's on everybody's mind.
Right.
Has been now that we're getting towards the end of the season. I do kind of find it hard to believe they haven't at least submitted some paperwork or kind of prepared some paperwork. Especially a guy like Bucky. He's already gone through the process of putting his name into the advisory board and getting some feedback. I can already guarantee you all 3 of those guys, Ford, Bucky, and Cam Phillips, are going to submit paperwork just to see where they stand.
Right.
Gerard probably will do the same, but I don't know. I think if I had to say, I would say that Isaiah Ford is probably this will be his last game coming up at the Belk Bowl. Cam Phillips, I just can't imagine why he would leave. I think he really needs a season to be the number one guy and really up his stock for next year because he just hasn't had a chance to be that number one guy behind Isaiah. So he would be the clear number one next season. Bucky, I think Bucky's probably the same way. He's probably also gone. He's just so big, and there's just not too many guys physically like that guy. I know I've seen some projections that have him as high as a late first-round pick. So if he can get a pretty good feel that he's going to be a first-round pick, I think he's definitely gone. Isaiah, again, because he's not a definite first-rounder, I think he's looking at more of a second-rounder. could make him want to stay, but I think the odds are probably higher that Lucky Hodges goes even more than 40.
Since you just ruined a whole bunch of Hokie fans' Christmas, you got any special deals for them leading up to Christmas? Yeah, well, hey, I mean, I'm calling it like it is. If anybody wants it, I have Jason Stamm's home address. I'll give it to you. You all can go knock on his door at 3:00 in the morning.
Man, throw me under the bus.
What? You have a kid anyway. You're up at 3:00 in the morning every day. What does it matter if somebody knocks on your door?
That's true. Well, and we do have a guard dog, so we'll know if somebody's here.
It's a poodle, but whatever.
The Sports Illustrated deal is still in effect, so it's a great time to, like I always say, if you want Sports Illustrated for yourself, hey, there's a free 1-year subscription of Sports Illustrated. If not, makes a great Christmas gift. We've also got something going on right now, and I'll put more details on our site where you can also give the VT Zone or subscription to Scout as a gift for someone else. So it also makes a pretty good gift. And we've talked about some of the stuff you get every day, between 10% off tickets and 10% off gear. So all kinds of stuff to definitely get all your holiday shopping accomplished.
You can do it all.
You have yours done, by the way, Paul.
No, I actually have to get on the VT Zone and get it done. You can do all your Christmas shopping for your Hokie fan right there on the VT Zone.
There you go. I love it. What a plug.
Jason Stamm is with the VT Zone and Scouts.com. They've got you locked down on everything recruiting for Virginia Tech. We encourage you, get yourself registered. If you are a fan of Hokie football or basketball, they're going to have all the details for you. Jason, as always, man, thank you so much. Look forward to chatting with you next week as we get a little bit closer to the Belk Bowl.
Hey, sounds good. Looking forward to it, Paul.
All right, my friend. Take care of yourself.
All right.
Bye-bye. There you go. Jason Stamm, the VT Zone, Scouts.com. We'll take a quick break.